Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. This is Stuart Cohen. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. I want to thank everybody for logging into today's our live demo and peer Q&A session. We're fortunate enough to have Bill Bunnell with us. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. We're just waiting for some other people to log in. As always, if you have any questions, please submit them in the chat box, in the question box, and we'll get a chance to answer any of your questions. Also, as always, this will be recorded. So if you want to come back and review it at a later time, you'll be able to. It'll be on our YouTube channel. So feel free to take a look at that as well. Why don't we move on to the next page on the agenda? As always, we use this as an opportunity to talk through a little bit about Nodeware itself. We'll provide you a live Nodeware demonstration. We'll take all of your questions, and as I said, we will have a recording that'll be sent out afterwards. So once again, put your questions in. We've got a couple of questions that have already been submitted, so we'll get to those as well. Next slide. We do have a couple of upcoming events. For those of you that are seven-figure MSP members, we have the open office hours session coming up tomorrow. So if you're interested, if you have any questions, if you need help with any onboarding of new clients, any questions about Nodeware, you can do that on that session. We're also putting together a webinar that's going to take place on June 15th regarding building a solution for MSPs to protect their clients' data. Derek from Augment will be joining us, and we might have a couple of other partners on the integration of a variety of different solutions to build out a solution stack for an MSP to help protect their clients' data. And then we'll have another open demo and peer Q&A session on June 22nd, and we'll have a guest speaker that we will announce before then. So with that, let's go ahead. First of all, I want to introduce Bill. Bill is the founder and CEO of Network Builders IT. Bill, thanks so much for being on today's call with us. As always, we'll have some questions for you specifically, and then we'll get into the demo, and there'll probably be some questions that come in after that as well. Before we get started, Bill, kind of any comments you want to make about kind of how you transition to vulnerability management, or how vulnerability management and Nodeware fit into, how you assess, how you protect, and how you assist your clients.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, Nodeware has been great in allowing us to do a couple things. First, from an asset management standpoint, it lets us know everything that's on the network, and typically you'll find that there's a lot more devices than you'd ever dream of. And then from there, then the vulnerabilities that come with those assets, and looking at the CVEs and then being able to remediate those and work towards a higher score. So it's been great for prospecting, going out and deploying it and allowing us to show potential customers where vulnerabilities live, and also down to segmenting of the network, because like I said, finding a lot of different devices, sometimes you learn that the networks aren't segmented like they should be, because you find all the iPhones and other devices that people are bringing to work and joining wireless networks. So
BYOD is not an MSP's friend.
No, it's BY your own virus.
Yeah.
So maybe you could talk about, as you transitioned to cyber, or maybe you started with cyber, I don't know the full story, but maybe you could talk about how you transitioned to a cyber solution from what you were doing in the past. If you were doing any IT only type support in the beginning, maybe you could tell a little bit about kind of how your organization has evolved.
Absolutely. So we started in 2006, before cyber was such a hot topic, and there was, still today you see that there's MSPs and there's MSSPs, and my feeling is that every managed service provider needs to be doing security like a managed security service provider. So back 4 or 5 years ago, we were like, okay, this is a real thing. We need to protect our relationship with our customers. We need to protect the dollars that they're giving us, and we don't want to be liable for any bad things that happen. So we said, okay, security first and foremost. So we then started looking at different vendors to work with, different certifications for myself and staff to get, and really building a security first organization, building security into our culture, and then taking that to our customers and trying to extend that to them and teaching them about how to build a security focused culture in their business, why security is important, and the vulnerabilities that can happen. You know, we hear in the news all the time so that ransomware is happening, so the customers aren't oblivious to it, but a lot of them believe that, you know, why is someone going to attack me in particular, or I'm too small, and their education really has to be this is everyone's fair game. Anyone and everyone is susceptible, and it's not if, it's more of a when question. So yeah, so when we purposely started really focusing on security and building the stack around that.
You know, it's amazing. I mean, I tell MSPs all the time, if you're doing IT only and you're not doing any cybersecurity, you know, your clients are going to get picked off by somebody who actually is providing cybersecurity services, because somebody's going to fully protect their data. And
right.
if you don't step up to start doing it, somebody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah, I think the days of IT focused only are going to be gone, and you have to focus on security. And the help desk stuff, the IT support stuff, is just part of what comes along with it. You know, it's just part of the package. But the focus is securing the network and making sure that, you know, we don't have those calls that, hey, all my computers are ransomed, come help.
It is surprising though how many MSPs, you know, want to stick to either just IT support or maybe a little bit of, you know, employee cyber education with a little multi-factor authentication, and they find that to be adequate. And I just think those days are numbered where those clients are going to start demanding more.
Absolutely.
They're definitely expecting more. They're definitely expecting more. Whether it's getting delivered or not is another issue that we can talk about.
Yeah, the customers are getting more sophisticated, and it's going to be, if you're not providing the solutions, when something happens, they're going to be asking why you didn't provide the solution. Because they're expecting that you're doing it already.
Yeah.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Well, Frank, let's do this. Let's go into a quick demo.
Yeah.
And let's show a couple of things specifically around Nodeware. We can answer any questions, and then we can move on from there.
Great. Okay. So I think you can see my screen. Confirm. So actually, let me go back to the starting point. So Nodeware, if you aren't familiar, really is the focus is continuous vulnerability management, and what that means is we are, you know, continually looking at every asset on the network, whether it's on-prem or off-prem, and you know, if it's got an IP address, we're going to be able to identify it. We can fingerprint it and be able to tell you what is going, what is there, kind of as Bill was talking about, sort of the identification and just basic network knowledge of what's on the network. And then we are going to, and those two things happen, you know, every couple of minutes, that we can tell whether a device is online. But most importantly, from a risk management standpoint, we do a scan of every asset / IP address every day. So you don't have to schedule it. You don't have to worry about it running at midnight. It could be running at 2 in the afternoon. It could be running at 2 in the morning, just depending on the size and scope of your network that you're managing. With that, you can go into this platform that you're looking at now and know that any data I see in here is no more than 24 hours old, right? So there's huge value in that, particularly with vulnerabilities coming down every day. There was a large Cisco one that was announced the other day about their switches. That is something that needs to be tracked and monitored. You know, many people kind of compare or look at vulnerability scanning and management as an alternative to a pen test, or, you know, well, I'm already doing pen tests once a year or twice a year, I don't need to do this. Well, very different, very unique, different approach, whereas a pen test is kind of a, you know, the ethical hacker trying to break in and find breaking points that you need to fix. Whereas Nodeware is a much more of a proactive approach, looking at all the assets, looking at their vulnerabilities, getting continuous updates on what could be affecting devices on your network. And more importantly, for the MSPs, within what Nodeware does very uniquely is that we provide remediation suggestions for fixing those vulnerabilities before they can be attacked and approached by the bad guys. So this is the basic platform. You can see across this MSP, this is our demo environment, but across this MSP, your average score of all your assets under management is 879. You can see there's 4 customers that make up that score. Here's your number of assets, internal and external. And so we can look into those individual customers and see what is, you know, what's available here. We can look at scores per customer. You can see a, you know, sort of how many critical vulnerabilities there might be within that one. You can see their score on this overall 0 to 999 scoring system. And then there's some other tools and access and settings that you can do. So to get to this point, really the key things is that there's 3 ways to kind of collect the data. There's virtual network scan, so a Windows-based sensor or a virtual machine-based sensor that can be placed on any device on the network that's applicable, and that will capture, that's the big broad fishing net, right? That's capturing everything out there on the network. We also then have agents that can be put onto notebooks that are remote or that are on and off the network. You can also put an agent on an on-prem device, such as a desktop Windows device or Windows or a Mac desktop system, and some other devices, even a Windows server. If you want to put an agent on that, that becomes a credentialed scan. And then the agents you can put onto Windows and Macs, and those can be, you know, again, deployed seamlessly via your RMM. It could be silent pushing, or it could be just any other way that you'd like to push updates and patches and executables. And then we have external scanners as well for your external IP addresses and your cloud instances and other things that are outside of the network, the standard network. You can put a sensor onto them and just kind of having them in the mix so you know what risks there might be there. So all that collectively, we'll go into a customer real quick and just sort of get an example of what you can see. So this customer has 18 assets that are being monitored. 17 of them are online right now. You can see the green eyeball is whether they're online. You can see this next little thing, whether it's an agent that has been installed in this case, or this is a network scan that's not being it's being scanned, but it's not, the credentials have not been enabled, so we're not getting all the deep level data, but you're able to turn those on and off quickly. We've also got, here's a cloud instance, an external IP address that's being monitored and managed within the mix. So you can see the IP address, the MAC address, you got to put a name to it. You can get the fingerprint. You can also do sorting by these tags. So if you want to, you're doing a Windows Server Day, you can just click on that. If you're doing a focus on Ubuntu devices, you can click on those. You can also create your own custom devices or custom tags. You know, could be first floor, could be, you know, remote location #1. If there's, you know, it could be a retail location, whatever. You can create that and apply those to particular assets. Again, just kind of for managing and viewing of your information. And then ultimately the score, 0 to 999, again, and that sort of puts in the mix there. We'll just go into one of these devices just to show the detailed level within this particular device. So this is a Windows Server 2019 that hasn't been patched, it's just kind of out of the box, but it can show you sort of all the range of devices or range of vulnerabilities that are found in here. So you can see there's a ton of criticals, and again, most of your environments aren't going to be like this. but this just gives you the range of the things that we are finding. Now, this is great on its own, and Bill, maybe you can comment on this in a minute if you've been able to utilize this yet. But if we look at a particular CVE that's been known, right now we can see what we're providing, which is again very unique, is that we provide the specific description of it. We're telling you the specific KB file that is missing, that's causing this vulnerability to pop, and then kind of really value-added play here is being able to take you right to the Microsoft patch location for that particular CVE. So you can get much more detail. You can get the latest details about how to fix it, what you need to do. So, just by doing this, many of our customers are telling us that they're saving 15, 20, 30 minutes sometimes per vulnerability that they find in the time it would normally take them to do research, right? You might get the CVE number, then you got to go figure out what to do from there. So we provide that right within the tool. And provide that. So, Bill, have you sort of utilized that much yet in your?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing is the red, yellow, green. When you're looking across the fleet of devices you have, we have it deployed right now to about 1,500 devices. It lets you narrow in exactly on the things that are most critical, the most number of vulnerabilities. So you take care of the big things first, right? And then, like you said, it tells you, okay, here's the CVE, here's the Microsoft patch, here's what you need to do. So then my engineers don't have to sit there and try to figure it out. They don't have to research it. They know they could go to one place, click on the link, understand how it's impacted, deploy it, and we're good to go. And sometimes it then builds into other things like, okay, well, why isn't the normal patching taking care of this, which then uncovers other things that maybe aren't functioning properly. So it helps kind of pull everything together and make sure you're patching and keeping your customers secure.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Bill, to that point,
one of the things,
Frank, hold on one second. Bill, to that point, we've had other MSPs say that by adding this deep scan vulnerability to Nodeware, it saved them, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes in research per vulnerability from the past. And when they look at, the 2, 3, 4 vulnerabilities they were researching a day, that might save them, an hour and a half, 2 hours per day per analyst. Are you seeing that same kind of productivity and time savings from it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I would say it's probably around the 15, 20-minute mark. I mean, having to stop, look up, Google a vulnerability, figure out what's going on, learn about it, takes time. And sometimes the engineers want to dig in deeper and really kind of dive too deep.
Yep.
And with this, it's like, here it is, here's the solution, this is what needs to be patched, patch it, and move on to the next thing. So yeah, I would absolutely, it saves time, and I would agree with those ranges of the amount of time.
Perfect.
One of the other things along those lines, vulnerabilities come down every day, right? I mentioned the Cisco one. There's plenty of others that are relevant. Because we're scanning, we're downloading all the known vulnerabilities every day. One of the tools that we've added recently is a CVE search. So if you happen to know the number of what is a CVE that was published, let's call, maybe this is, I don't know if there's none from 2022. Here's a couple from 2022 that we can look at. We can start looking. Oh, okay, there's none with 1.4, but I think maybe it's this number, right? That's a feature that you can now sort of utilize in here. So this is the number I happen to sort of remember. 2020-1435. So you can come in and look and deal with this device quickly, and again, this could be news from last night or just something you've heard about that was relevant to some other information you had. So
can I hop in? I just want to add to Stuart's question real quick. Another thing that this does, when the solution is provided, it allows us to push the work down to maybe a lower level engineer. You know, sometimes we're going to have a higher level engineer do the research and try to figure out what's going on. And so by pushing it down to maybe a lower level engineer, it allows us to save cost on labor as well. It's not just time, but it's actual the amount of money we're paying the engineer to do the work. So I think that's important.
Well, that's a great point. It also gives you some mentoring capabilities. It gives you some on-the-job training. It gives you a an educational aspect to teaching a junior engineer how to be a senior cyber analyst.
Right, exactly.
That's a great point as well. So it allows you to hire less expensive people and train them to be better employees for you versus having to hire at the top of the market.
Exactly.
Well,
and a lot of times, depending on what market you're in, finding those people is A, really hard, and B, expensive.
Yeah. Well, and for one, we've got a number of MSPs that are doing, that are co-managing locations with their customer, right, with the end user. Maybe they have a junior IT person on staff, right, or they have a more sophisticated. One of the things that we've enabled within Nodeware is to we'll just pick right, we can invite a user. This could be a tech. It could be just if they just want to come in and look at the information, or maybe it's a little more sophisticated person on site that you're working with that's co-managing and has access to a system. You can let them come in here as a technician. You can pick the customer and invite them, right? So a way to easily provide that kind of support, again, whether it's internal to your company or internal to the IT to the end user. There's some great functionality there as well. So that's all very valuable deliverables here from the tool. One of the other things I wanted to just kind of go through is reporting that we do. So we have both a way to get scheduled reports either on demand or bi-weekly or monthly. Let's say you wanted to have weekly reports on Sunday. These 3 reports always provided for all my customers, and I save that and I put that in my and I can deliver that in here. And those reports would come into here back weeks and weeks and months of archiving data. You can download them just on your own local drive if you want to have them for this might be a compliance issue, an auditing, or any other exceptions reporting you want to provide. We can also come in and provide, or you can pull a specific report. Let's say you're going to the customer in the afternoon, you want an executive summary of their vulnerability risk. You can run that report. That is being generated and it'll be up here and available. Just to save a couple seconds, let me just do, actually it's already ready to go. But anyway, you can see the report. You can now upload it, or view it, and you can customize it. Right, this isn't branded Nodeware or IGI anything. It's just a generic report that you can customize and provide your customers with all the information. So a lot of good details there that you can utilize and go with that. The other thing, if you are
Frank, the reporting, I'll tell you that we've used it, the Log4j specifically. I mean, that's not such a hot topic current, but when it first came out, we had insurance companies asking and wanting to know exactly what we've done, what we discovered, what we did about remediation. In this report, we were able to run and in some cases provide it to the insurance companies and say, here it is, here's what we found. Which then, I don't know how directly it impacts premiums, but it helps eliminate the question. So
it maintains their insurability. How's that sound?
Exactly.
And Bill, on that topic, are you still getting requests for Log4j from the insurance companies?
No, it's kind of died down. We're not getting it a lot. I think it's one of those things that everyone's hoping it's patched.
Yeah, we see it as kind of come and gone, at least from an interest level, from a support tickets, from questions, from reports. And I was just curious from your perspective on it as well.
But I think the fact that you have the report available speaks to Nodeware and the company in general, in the product, because you're giving us something that we're going to end up needing, right? And being proactive like that helps MSP, because now we don't have to go track it down. We can go to this, pull out a nice report. You know, being a proactive partner in this way brings a ton of value that you know, we don't see very often in a lot of the partners that we have. So thank you for doing stuff like this.
Oh, absolutely. We appreciate your business.
All right, so I wanted to just go into the support page just real quickly and show you what we have here in terms of, you know, deployment, and I'll show you how quickly, but just, you know, some examples here of what we provide in terms of deployment options for, let's just say, for Nodeware agents, right? It's very detailed, step-by-step instructions on how to, you know, how to deploy. We found, and Bill, you can comment on the time that you take, but generally we've found that in MSP, you know, on the first time it's maybe a little bit longer, but generally once they go to add a new customer, they can be up and running. You know, they can have the sensor ready to go in 5 or 10 minutes, and they can be up and running, you know, another 5 or 10, and they're actually collecting data in under 30 minutes, right? In that first pass of inventory and fingerprinting, and, you know, an ongoing scale for, or, you know, ongoing time for the scanning as we do it. So, you know, the ease of this deployment is, you know, bar none, the easiest and best out there. I know, Bill, what's your experience with deployments?
It's super easy. I mean, you stick it in your arm and push it out, and like you said, in 5 or 10 minutes, you start collecting data. Things start checking in, and the dashboard starts getting built. It's very, very straightforward and easy.
Yeah, we've actually got some, you know, one of the topics, and maybe I don't know if you've addressed it yet or not, but, you know, in the car dealer world and the auto loan world, there's a whole FTC safeguards requirements that are requiring continuous vulnerability and MFA and some other things. And, you know, we're working with some compliance companies that, you know, have brought on a customer and tell them, hey, you need to get Nodeware, here's how you deploy it. And the car dealerships themselves are doing some of these deployments. They're that straightforward, and, you know, they got them set up a little bit on the front side, but if a car dealer's IT shop can do it, I'm guessing every MSP can do this as well. So thanks for your comments on that. So I think that's the kind of the key points. Stuart, any other thoughts or things I might have missed that you want me to cover here?
No, I guess, you know, I would just say, Bill, is there something else that you want to comment on that maybe we didn't show today that is, you know, something you use as part of, whether it's your assessment, whether it's your recruiting, whether it's your ongoing protection of your clients, that, you know, maybe we glossed over?
I mean, I think you hit most of the important topics. I think really, you know, we use it a couple different ways. We use it for potential new customers trying to do a security assessment. We use it with existing customers to show that that their network is being taken care of, and we use it as a, hey, this is a third party that's assessing the quality of work that we're doing and how well we're protecting you, which I think goes a long way in building value and trust with the customer. So yeah, it's worked well for us, and we continue to use it to this day.
Perfect. One thing I will just mention, just from a usage standpoint, that we provide. So there's a couple of different ways to buy and license a product, which is based on subscription. So it's a 1-year subscription that's either paid up front, and that's the most economical for you and your customers. You can pay it monthly, which is a little bit higher, and then consumption, which is just you pay as you go each month. So we look in how many you use during a month and bill you on that. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's the ultimate flexibility. And we have customers that are kind of using it a combination. Maybe first month or two, you're kind of not sure how many you really need. Just go consumption, you just pay as you go. And then, you know, after you get a steady state and you say, okay, I need 200 assets for this customer. Let me move those to subscription. You can save a lot of money. You know you're under a year's contract. Go the ultimate annual subscription, and you'll be good to go. So just there's some flexibility there of how you process those. We have distribution available through TD Synnex, Ingram Micro, Cloud Marketplace, Rain Networks, and then also we have some direct purchasing capabilities online with us, if that's the most flexible and easy for you. So just wanted to call that out.
Yeah, we did just get a question. So Bill, I'll paraphrase a little bit of what they wrote, but it's basically, could you elaborate a little bit on how you transitioned from IT to cyber, and how you transitioned to your solution stack, and kind of when you added Nodeware into that?
So we added Nodeware probably about a year ago, I think. But the way that we did it was, there's a lot of different vendors out there. So we probably spent the first year interviewing vendors, trying to figure out what pieces we needed. Quite frankly, talking to other MSP owners that were further ahead than us and asking them what they were doing, what tools they were using. Of course, we went to like 7-figure MSP events. We went to DataCon. All the industry events where you're getting pitched products, and just trying to find out what's out there, and then building the stack, and then figuring out what pieces do what, and try not to have a lot of overlap, basically. And you just start building it out. And the way that we approached our customers was, hey, cybersecurity, it's real. It's a real risk. You got to you got to start doing something about it. You see all the things that are in the news. Here's our solution, and here's our stack. We don't sell it. We don't sell it piecemeal. We sell a solution, and then go to the customer. And I don't know if that answers the question, but it was just, there's so many different vendors, and there's so many different tools. You just got to do the work and figure out which ones are going to work best for how you want to protect your customers.
As kind of a follow-on to that, it's amazing to me, and in the 2 years I've been here, it's interesting how, early on, probably 50% of the small businesses didn't think the bad guys would ever find them, right? So they didn't actually have to worry about a lot of cybersecurity things, and that's obviously evolved pretty dramatically. Same thing around, just the number of compliance requirements and regulatory requirements that are coming towards small businesses. And it's not just the CEO or the owner or the president, but now it's maybe an investor in a small business that want to make sure their investment's protected or their data is protected, or there's a bank that's worried about the loans and the debt, the board members, the supply chain, and the customers. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on, kind of the role of the small business leader and some of the things that are affecting why they need to do more with folks like you.
Well, I think the bad guys have done a good job for us. I think they've done a good job of creating news articles and letting people know it's real. It's interesting, the banks. We participated in a trade show just a couple weeks ago. We were an exhibitor, and a bank was there as well, and they came up to us and they're like, hey, how can you help us educate our customers? How can you help us protect our investment? Exactly what you just said. What would it look like to do assessments on some of these customers? And I think business owners are seeing it from a whole bunch of different avenues. We got the media talking about cybersecurity and how it's real. We have insurance companies demanding it. We have most likely their peers talking about it. And then hopefully their IT professionals are telling them that it's real and they need to do something about it. So while I think there's a lot more education that needs to be done, it's come a long ways, because at the beginning, you're right. It was like, we're too small. No one cares about my company. Why would someone want to hack a little car dealership some small town. Well, like we talked about earlier, it's not about trying to attack. I'm going after that car dealership. I'm going after anyone I possibly can, and it's going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you a story from one of our MSPs, and maybe you have a similar story you can share with the audience. But we had an MSP that was supporting a law firm that was using one of the older traditional vulnerability management tools that ran on Sunday nights when no one was in the office to give them a snapshot of the vulnerabilities. They would run it monthly, they would run it quarterly, and one of the clients of the law firm said, if you're not doing continuous vulnerability management, we're going to pull our accounts because we're not interested in having you have access to all the confidential data you have from us at the law firm if you're not adequately protecting it. And the MSP transitioned to Nodeware because of the continuous vulnerability management, because the law firm said, if you're not continuously providing this for me, we're going to lose our clients. And and I thought it was interesting. It was the client driving the law firm, and then the law firm driving the MSP as to how it came about. And I was wondering if you had kind of a similar kind of conversation.
Luckily not. We've been pretty ahead of the curve, I think. So we're typically
proactive helps.
Yeah, we're trying to talk to the customer before they talk to us, but we did have a company hire a new CIO, and they came in and they were like, hey, what are you doing? What reporting do you have? And the reports have helped quite a bit. Doing this has helped because, again, it shows that we're not taking their business for granted. We're not taking their security for granted. We're actually using another tool to audit like what we're doing and how well we're doing our job and what other vulnerabilities out there. Of course, we're going to come across vulnerabilities that have to deal with a vendor, like an SSH vulnerability that's built into some piece of software, and the vendor's not going to do anything about it. And maybe it's an appliance, and we can't do anything about it either. But what we can do is we can have a conversation with the customer. We can let them know that the vulnerability exists. We can work on isolating the device and protecting it from anyone getting into it. So yeah, it's been a good experience.
Oh, that's great to hear. So Frank, we got one question a little bit more about the pricing. Somebody asked about our consumption model and exactly how it works. So maybe you could articulate on that. And then that's the last question we have. So if there's no other questions, I'll give everybody a chance to submit any questions you have. And then Bill, we'll turn it back over to you, kind of some closing thoughts as well, and maybe some perspective if you're an MSP that hasn't transitioned to cyber, kind of what you want to do, how you want to do it, what you might want to be thinking about. But Frank, why don't you talk a little bit more about the consumption just to answer a question that came in.
Yeah, you bet. So consumption works kind of like it sounds, right? You pay for what you use. Sometimes on a subscription model, you might have a little bit of buffer, or it kind of makes sense to have a little bit of buffer. Let's say you've got 180 assets that are there at a customer. You allocate 200 for them just because things come on and off the network, and you want to make sure that you can fully evaluate them. So that's kind of the interest of a subscription and why there's a little bit lower cost for that. On the consumption model, you would either provide an open PO from the distributor, or however the distributor is processing it could be a credit card payment on them, and or you provide a credit card in the system, the Nodeware system under your team settings. And so on the end of the month, we will look at what sort of your high watermark of usage was for that month. Let's say it's 162, or maybe it's just 33 in a particular month. We'll charge based on the actual usage. So again, first of the month, before the end of the month, we'll make sure that you're set. That on the first of the month, we'll send you a bill, or the distributor will get a statement from us that shows, network builders used, X number this month. Here's the line item and the charge. So it's kind of a good flexibility model particularly if you're starting out, or if you're starting out with a new customer, you just want to sort of provide them that. And again, as I mentioned before, our flexibility for you enables you to use the assets you need in a particular month, and you kind of get steady state. Well, now let's move to subscription, and ultimately, maximize the profit and your margin, and minimize the cost that you're paying out for that. So it's there. You can mix and match, right? You might have some customers or some allocation that you put towards subscription, and others you do towards consumption, and you can move it as you need. So hope that answered the question. If not,
okay. Thank you very much. Why don't we let's go to a couple of slides, and then Bill, I'll come back to you for kind of any perspective and closing thoughts.
You got it.
So as I mentioned earlier, a couple of upcoming events. If you're a 7-figure MSP member, we have the open office session tomorrow at 11 Eastern. We also have Derek from Augment coming on June 15th, talking about building a solution for MSPs to protect their clients' data. We'll probably be adding another partner or two to that. So look for that on our website, look for that on LinkedIn, look for that on Facebook. Feel free to sign up there. Also have the ability to post any questions you have in advance. We'll have another Nodeware open demo and peer Q&A like today. We'll have that with our team and probably another guest coming up on June 22nd as well. So with that, those are the three things. Once again, please join our LinkedIn page. This is about building a community. This is about collaborating. This is about working together. So if you have any questions, you want to connect with your peers, feel free to do that with us on LinkedIn. And like always, if you have any questions for us, feel free to submit the questions for us, either at Nodeware at IGIUS. If you have a support question, there's support at nodeware.com. We also have a full knowledge database if you're looking for information off the website as well. So we're happy to put together any demos. If you want to see a demo, if you want to get involved in a proof of concept, we can work with you on that as well. We'll help you onboard your clients. So let me go back to Bill for a second. Bill, any closing thoughts for somebody that might be thinking about doing business with you, or just some general perspective for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if someone's interested in doing business with us, we specialize in manufacturing, transportation, warehousing across the United States, and we'd love to talk to you. If someone's interested, if it's an MSP out there and you haven't got into cybersecurity yet, I would encourage you to do it now. It's not as scary as it may seem. There is a lot of learning that needs to be done, but you just start going through the process, identifying partners. Identifying partners that are willing to work with you, like Nodeware, and in just building those relationships. And slowly you'll build your stack, and then you go to your customers, and you're off to the races. So it's kind of like the dinosaurs. If you're not doing it, you're not gonna be around long enough, and someone else is gonna come in that is doing it, and it's gonna take your customers. So.
And what on that, just to elaborate on that, if you're an MSP that says, I'm a little nervous about getting started with vulnerability management because I'm a little concerned, one, what I'm going to find, and then two, how am I going to articulate to my client all the issues they have from a vulnerability standpoint that maybe they thought I should have been doing all along?
Well, if that's the case, I'd get yourself some licenses of Nodeware. I'd run it on the network. I'd start remediating a bunch of things, and then tell the customer what a great position they're in.
That's a great solution, Bill.
Great answer. Great answer. Wasn't quite sure what you were going to say, but we'll take that one for sure. Well, look, Bill, thank you much for your time. Thanks so much for your business. It's always great to have a thought leader who can come on a session like this, answer questions for their peers, and be available. As always, we do have the session recorded, so anybody that wants to go see it on our YouTube channel later, we'll also send the link out. Bill will also send it to you and your team. So anybody who wants a copy of it can get a copy of it, can view the session later. Thanks so much for your time. Frank, thanks so much for your time today and doing the demonstration. And we'll give everybody a couple minutes back in their day. But thank you again for attending, and we'll see you on our next session in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
you all.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.